Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here. And today, fellas, the public test client has updated. And in the current public test client, the most recent changes, nerfs to submarines have gone live. And of course, the big change in, well, mainly the nerf that you're all here for is the nerf that's supposed to solve the shotgunning problem. If you are unaware, shotgunning is a maneuver where a submarine basically pulls up next to your ship at point-blank range, usually like 2.1 kilometers away, because, you know, even for a submarine that's super stealthy at periscope depth, they will get detected at 2 kilometers. So they pull up next to your ship from 2 kilometers away, let all their bow torpedoes rip right into the side of your ship. And, well, that is pretty, well, not great for you, right? Eating a whole slew of torpedoes from something that you didn't really know was there. You couldn't spot because it's at got a 2 kilometer detect at periscope depth. And now you're down half of your ship's HP. If you're in a battleship, if you're in a cruiser, you're probably dead. So the proposed change that Wargaming put forth when it came to trying to fix a shotgunning issue was at first kind of a dynamic speed setting, if you will, on the torpedoes, where they start out at like 20 knots, but then they slowly speed up to their maximum top speed. I'm not sure if they ditched that. Some of you guys have said that they have ditched it. I haven't really seen anything one way or another from Wargaming confirming that they've gotten rid of trying to go with that idea. But the idea they went with is instead a dynamic damage model, where from 2.9 kilometers in, your torpedoes do a minimal amount of damage, but from 2.9 kilometers out, your torpedoes do their full damage. And, well, I hopped on the public test to see how that worked, and this is the results. First off, this bot Venezia is one of the few Venezia or Zal players that I've seen that actually uses the submarine surveillance consumable appropriately. He pops it, I get spotted at the start of the match, and then here come the ASW strikes. Now, if you notice, I did rip those torpedoes from about 6 kilometers away, and, well, now, in all fairness, that's a bot, right? It ain't that intelligent, so that was just kind of funny. But yeah, it's a bot, doesn't really count. Now, what it is funny, too, is that in this situation right here, both of our torpedoes are essentially useless, the Thrasher and myself and the Gato, the king of shotgunning, if you will. Because even if we did get torpedoes off on each other, we're under 3 kilometers away from each other, and in submarine engagements like this, that's typically the engagement range that these sub players will find themselves in, because typically they stumble onto each other and they let their submarine surveillance rip, and you spot each other and you throw torps at each other from incredibly close ranges. Well, the torps do like maybe 1,000 damage a piece, if that. So if I do somehow hit him with all 6 of my forward torpedoes, I do like 6,000 damage to something with 20,000 HP. It's fairly negligible, right? So that is very much an effect there. So I surfaced, I'm going after the Satsuma next. Now, the reason I'm doing this in kind of a live commentary way is that, well, it is a little bit more engaging than me just sitting here and talking about, oh, this is the change, and this is kind of how it happened. I can point out the specifics to you guys in the matches that I play. Well, we're just going to go through this one match. Not even really go through it. Just go through it to a certain point, then I'll share my thoughts on it with you guys. But anyway, so after dealing with the Venezia, I'm thinking, okay, let me go check out the Satsuma next, because that's a real player. That's a battleship. That is one of the, again, prime pieces of free HP that a shotgunning submarine will go after. So sure enough, I go on the periscope depth, and the Satsuma, 4.8 kilometers away, not the most maneuverable ship in the game, pretty big target. So I'm just going to see how close I can get to him, within the arming range, the full damage range, 2.9 kilometers out. And, well, I'm getting a little bit close here, 4 kilometers, 3.8, and he is sailing away from me, though. So I'm thinking, okay, he's sailing away. I could probably get within, like, 2.8 kilometers and still be fine, but I don't want to take the risk of him maybe turning back in and getting into the arming range. So I just go ahead and let all of the torpedoes fly from I think I started like 3.7 kilometers away, but I think the last one was launched from 3.3 kilometers away, and now I'm diving. And he has no idea I'm here because he probably thinks he's being spotted by the Lion, and he is. And, well, here comes a wall of gearing torpedoes right to the Satsuma's side. And there's an easy, what was that, 30,000 damage for me. So, yeah. Now, I'm coming back up here. And this is where I realized, oh, hold up a second. I'm within 2.6 kilometers of him. I can't really let him rip right now. So I just tap the brakes a little bit. But then, Clausewitz has pushed in with his hydroacoustic search. And I'm surprised I'm not getting a bunch of ASW planes dumped on my head right now, because the Satsuma is apparently that tunnel vision. But okay, he dropped some ASW on me. I hit the emergency dive, and these torpedoes are going to miss. So, I mean, like, yeah, that kind of helped him out there, because I couldn't really just rush him and let my torpedoes fly from 2 kilometers away like I just would have done if I didn't have to care about this torpedo arming distance. So that right there did save him. That probably would have, maybe not would have knocked him out completely, but it definitely would have, brought him down into the thousands instead of the tens of thousands of HP left. Now, here's where it really does matter, because this Clausewitz, I could pop up right now, because this dude's hydro's down. I could pop up right now in the current build of the game and just blast this guy. But I can't do that. And look at this, I'm running out of dive time. He's 2.3 kilometers away from me, so I can't go up and sit at periscope depth for very long, if at all. And I'm going to be within my minimum arming distance. So now, this guy's very scary right now because of that. So I'm going to risk it. I got to pop up. I'm running out of ASW. I'm running out of battery charge, so I'm running at periscope depth. I just let the torpedoes rip, but he turns out. And guess what? It's the torpedoes have to travel 2.9 kilometers, right? And since he turned out, he extends that traveling range, and, well, there you go. So, I just blasted the scariest thing here on this cap, because he had hydro. Satsuma over there doesn't have hydro. So guess what now, fellas? I don't care that I have a 3 kilometer arming range, because I have a Satsuma left to deal with. Big fat battleship that's slow, that I could easily, and like you've seen, I've already done it, blast them from 3-4 kilometers out with the torpedoes and not really care all that much. So as long as he doesn't know I'm here, then who cares, right? He doesn't have any idea where I'm coming from until the torpedoes are already on their way there. Like, here I go. I'm already going back down the periscope depth. Didn't time it really right, so unfortunately, for me at least, I do get spotted, and here comes this ASW planes. But I'm just going to sit at periscope depth, and I'm just going to put my foot down and try to get out of the blast radius, which I think I do, actually. Yeah, look at that. I got out of the blast radius. But watch this, fellas. So he turns into me, I launch my torpedoes, and again, the torpedoes have to travel 2.9 kilometers for them to fully arm and do their maximum damage. But since the Satsuma knew where I was at because I got spotted, behold, those 2 torps did, I think, maybe 2,000 damage, maybe 3-ish. They're probably like 1,500 and change each. So look at that. He knew where I was at. He turned his bow into me, and because of this mechanic, he took a minimal amount of damage. So in that aspect, it worked. So, kinda, sorta, but yet again, he's 1.5 kilometers away from me, and I'm about to surface, but we are traveling apart from one another, and once I surface, I'm going to be able to go my full surface speed. That's my Discord, not yours. So, right now, I can't really let them rip, because if I do let these rear torpedoes rip right now, they're going to do maybe 4,000 damage, but now I can, because, again, we're selling away from each other, and, again, using the fact that the torpedoes only have to travel 2.9 kilometers, and he's traveling away from me, I'm traveling away from him, I let him rip, and, well, I mean, that looks like a pretty good salvo right there, and there we go. Another free 34,000 damage for me, bringing my total up to 129,000 damage. Oh, he's flooding. That's why it's going up. So, yeah. Do the nerfs really work? Well, if you're a large cruiser or a battleship, no, not really. However, if you're a destroyer or a cruiser with hydro, you're going to be very, very scary to submarine players. Or if you're one of the cruisers that has the ASW consumable, not the ASW consumable, the submarine surveillance consumable, you are now going to be quite terrifying to subs. Because once you see them, you know where they're at, you can charge them down, and especially if they're underwater going, 18 knots, 17, 16 knots underwater, you can very easily charge them down, get within their 3-kilometer range, keep them spotted, and they can't surface and blast you anymore. So I think from that point of view, it's most definitely very effective. And again, especially if you are destroyers, you go into the capture these submarines now. Now, if you see them, again, if you detect them, they usually have like 5-6 kilometer detection radiuses. Just charge them. Get within that 2.9 kilometer torpedo arming distance and just drop ASW on their head, right? If you can, right? I'm not saying, go beeline for them and, just get murdered by the rest of their team, right? But what I think would really, really, really make this buff quite workable is if you just nerf periscope speed. Because everything that I've done in this game in the background, when I'm about to do this Satsuma again, is made possible by me being able to go, look at this, 35 knots at periscope speed. This is dumb. Because this is what allows me to, get away from these surface ships and, get my torpedoes just on the edge of that arming range is by going at periscope speed. I'm going so fast and then they're traveling at a certain speed to where I can, just min-max the range, right? And it doesn't really make this a huge deal when dealing with, these surface ships. If you were to crank periscope speed down to like, maybe 3/4 speed or maybe somewhere between 1/2 and 3/4, right? It would make shotgunning pretty much impossible, right? And I don't know if the devs maybe don't want to make it completely impossible because there is some skill involved, especially in a full-on random battles game, because you do have to stay undetected. You can't goof up and sail into the enemy submarines submarine surveillance range. You can't get spotted, which, believe it or not, it's not as easy as it's often made out to be. You can go try it for yourself right now. There is some skill involved. I can see the devs wanting to, in some way, shape, or form, still allow them to pull this off in some way, right? But I don't think this is enough to kind of taper it back. Again, if you just bring periscope speed down a little bit, wargaming, I think then it'll be a lot more tolerable and a lot trickier to pull off. So while this is certainly a very good step in the right direction in dealing with this shotgunning issue, and it has definitely made those ships with hydro, ships with submarine surveillance and destroyers a hell of a lot more scary for submarine players, I don't think it's enough. If you just tweak the speed, I think you'll be there wargaming. If you don't want to mess with periscope speed because for whatever, I would probably recommend cranking the range out to like 4 kilometers then, seeing how that goes. Because 4 kilometers is still quite close. It's not close enough to where you can just let the torpedoes rip and you're going to hit the ship with most of them in most situations. But it's still pretty close, but it's on the edge of like, okay, is he going to turn here in the next couple of seconds? Do I need to take that into account, So I think either that or nerfing the speed, that'll be the next step into making shotgunning hopefully either a much more difficult tactic to use or a thing of the past. So guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. You can download the PT client right now and try this out for yourself, which I strongly encourage you to do so. It gives you a much better grasp of what's going on, and the best way for you to experience something is doing it yourself. So again, it's free. They just let you log in with your main account. You transfer all of your ships and all your stuff over to the public test server, and they even give you some goodies for playing on the public test. So if you're going to play the game, do a couple rounds of the public test, get some goodies, and then, check out all the new stuff. So guys, again, let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. Hope you guys have a wonderful Friday, a wonderful weekend. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.